Sinn Féin salutes, as we have today, the men and the women of 19 and 16. But not just the men and women of 19 and 16. The freedom fighters of every generation who fought for the freedom of the Irish people, including those from our own generation. We are not revisionists. 1916 wasn't the end and isn't the end of a struggle. And we salute especially Maradur Lynn Minra Naharan. We salute especially the women of Ireland on this, the centenary of the foundation of Common Amon. And we salute those who went into the GPO. We salute the Nurse Farrells and Margaret Skinnerders and the Countess and all the rest of the sisters. But we also salute, in our time, Maura Drum, Sheena Campbell, Mairead Farrell, and all our sisters who fell in the course of the struggle. At the time we to go hands to there, we rud, hand tabak takoversko, haraha go may, fear, so there we shin, ni bay in, Saoirse na Huron, gan, Saoirse na Mon. If you look up and down this street, what sign is there of the momentous events that took place here almost 100 years ago? Look up and down. This is the main street of the capital city of the island of Ireland. How would you know if you were a casual visitor? How would you know that a small group went out to take on an empire? How would you know that they declared a republic? If you look through our society today, is there any vestige of that republic in the type of state we have in this part of the island? In the weeks after the rising, 15 of the leaders were executed. Roger Casement, a few months later, was hanged in London. The only place that the proclamation lives is in the hearts and the commitment and the intentions and the hope of people like yourselves and people throughout the world and people throughout Ireland who love freedom, who know it doesn't have to be the type of state we have now, ruled by bankers and elites and speculators and big business, but a citizen-based republic. And that's why the government is dumbing down. That's why the government is anemic about the revolutionary period, which is marked especially by the proclamation of the Republic. Fine Gael and Labour haven't even at this point outlined their proposals to mark the centenary. Now everybody who wants a better future, everybody who believes in citizens' rights, everybody who believes in equality, go out there and find a way to organise, to reclaim the spirit of 1916 and to reclaim the Republic proclaimed in 1916. Go out there and organise your friends and your neighbours. Go out and organise it in poetry and song and discussion and debate in any way that you can. But not just to mark the past, also to mark a course to the future. The government's also trying to draw an ambivalence or an equivalence around the Great War and to make it in some way as equal to the Rising. Now the First World War clearly was a very, very important historical event, not least because of the numbers of Irish men, either Unionists or Nationalists, who fought and died. So it is important that that horrendous event is remembered and that we learn the lessons from it. However, the Rising was a defining part of the revolutionary period in Ireland, was a strike for the Irish nation, for the unity of the people of this island, for equality, and there can be no equivalence between a great adventure in which small people died and the great revolutionary act by freedom-loving people here in the capital of Dublin. The government and successive governments' attitude to the events of 1916 is best seen by its attitude to Moore Street. And if you would take the opportunity, if you're going home, just to walk up Moore Street, because when this place was bombarded, when Saxville Street, when the city centre was in flames, when the garrison came out of the side here, they made their way into Moore Street. James Connolly was very, very seriously injured. They carried him. The British Army had heavy machine guns at the top of Moore Lane and Moore Street itself. And the volunteers broke their way into the terrace of houses and tunnelled their way and occupied the entire terrace. That's where the council met. That's where the provisional government had its last meeting. That's where they decided to surrender. That's the place from which Nurse O'Farrell went up to Tom Clark's shop, which is hidden behind a piece of neon on Parnell Street, to meet with the British commander. It's where Pearse made his way up to just below Parnell Square. It's now subject to a planning order which was seeking the entire demolition of that historic quarter except for two small bits. Now for me that's a metaphor of the times we're living in. It is owned by a developer who is in Nama. He wants to build in the main street here a shopping mall and relegate what is actually our Alamo to a small place on the side. Now, are the people of Dublin going to let them do that? So we need to be alert. There is a planning application has been made. I want to pay huge credit to the families who have organised and worked on this for a long, long time. I want to draw your attention, those who know Kilmainham Prison, that would have been demolished had it not been for citizens, including those who had fought for freedom. The state only intervened after people had gone and fought a campaign and went in and worked voluntarily to restore the building. And that's what's happening in Moore Street. So watch it. Let's send a very clear notice that not only do we want a republic, but we want the place where the Republican government last met to be honoured in the same way as it would if it was any other place anywhere else in the world. I also think that you should take the opportunity, and it just struck me yesterday that we should have, it's one of the few things you get for free over in Minster House, you get a free proclamation. It's the only thing about the place that's free in any sense of the word. But it just struck me that we should have brought, and maybe next year, God spares us, somebody will go and bring hundreds of proclamations to get them out to people at events like this. Go and get the proclamation and read it. And when you read the proclamation, you will know why there was a counter-revolution. You will know even before the Clan War had begun that the reactionaries were starting to carve out their place in the future. You'll know why partition came about. You'll know why two very conservative states were put in place, north and south. And why all of the scandals that we have coming to be revealed in our own time were cemented into that conservative state in this part of the island and in the northern part of the island, because the type of republic based on equality, based on citizens, based upon freedom is not what the elites want. They want a situation where austerity becomes the order of the day and where working people have to pay it in the neck. And I'm sure any of you that walked with us from Parnet, from the Garden of Remembrance down into Sean McDermott Street, could not have but been shocked by the state of the dilapidated, one or two particularly dilapidated buildings in which citizens of this city are being asked to live. And this isn't what the men and women went out in 1916 for. Also, let's remind ourselves that in 1916 things were much worse in Ireland than they are today. Much worse. The famine was still in living memory. The great lockout was only 3 years beforehand. Working people in this city and in Waterford and throughout the island were prosecuted and persecuted. The population, as in our time, was scattered throughout the world. But yet in those dark, difficult times, men and women had a vision of a different way, of a Slí Allah, of a Slí Níos Far, and that's what they proclaimed in 1916. And the elites, the people who collapsed the economy here, and I remember well when we were saying at the height of the Celtic Tiger, socialise the wealth, build homes, build social housing, build schools, build hospitals. They said no, Sinn Féin's engaged in fairy tale economics. But when it crashed, they socialised the debt. No problem making the people pay for the sins of the bankers and for the big working. So that's all before us. Things have changed. Ireland is in transition, the entire island. One party state in the north, it's over. 2.5 party state here, that's over too. Sinn Féin are here. Sinn Féin are here. And let me warn the elites, you haven't seen anything yet. Because we know where we stand on these great issues of our time. Does anybody think for a second that James Connolly would stand over the type of things that are being passed by the Labour Party today? No. Does anybody think that Patrick McPearce would be comfortable with partition or with sectarianism? Of course not. So we know where we're from. Look, I said it earlier on, if this was 1916, we'd be in the GPO. So we know where we're from, we know where we're going, we know what we want to do, and we need support for that. So I appeal to you, many of the people here may not be members of Sinn Féin. Join Sinn Féin. Be part of Sinn Féin. Be part of the great movement forward. There are elections in only a few weeks. And we want to win, obviously, as many seats as we can. We're standing 350 candidates, every single council area and every one of the 32 counties in Ireland will have the opportunity to vote for a Sinn Féin candidate. We're standing in every one of the 4 European Union elections as well. But we don't want to win seats just to win seats. We want to win seats to win political power, to use political power, to bring about changes in the conditions of working people, and to build a critical mass of support for Irish unity, for an end to partition, for orange and green to be united on the island of Ireland. So Sinn Féin, I have another half an hour of speech, but Micheál said no. So it's lovely and dry here, you see. There are very few perks and leadership, but this is one of them. So anyway, look, have a lovely Easter, have a good, revolutionary, radical Easter period, and let's get out there and make the type of changes which were proclaimed at this spot almost 100 years ago. So, meet them all.